David here with Figboot on Pens. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a pen from Montblanc. And this pen was lent to me by my friend Andreas, and I know he was very excited when he picked up this pen recently, and I appreciate him being willing to part with it for a little while not long after acquiring it. The pen I have today is the Montblanc Rouge et Noir. What I'm going to do is go over some of the parts and features of the pen, talk about some of the things I like and I don't like, show some measurements, some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. About 110 years ago, the very first fountain pen was produced by Montblanc, and it was called the Rouge et Noir. And it was inspired by a novel called Le Rouge et le Noir by Stendhal, which actually translates from the French as the red and the black, which was first published back in 1830. And the book really chronicles the attempts of a young man of modest beginnings to rise socially through hard work and a bit of deception. The pen was made of black ebonite with a red cap top. Here's one of the original advertisements. It was actually manufactured before the company established the Montblanc name, which would happen a year or two later. If you're interested in one of these vintage pens, I noticed there was one currently up on eBay with a buy it now price of $16,000. So if you're looking for one, there's one out there to find. The reissue of the Rouge et Noir is a kind of a contemporary twist on the vintage design, and this is what it looks like. The pen is offered in two colors. There is a black model, which is black with a coral finial, and then the all coral version. And it's crafted from precious resin and lacquer. So let's get started by taking a look at the finial. You can see here that it has a big fat ivory colored Montblanc snow cap, which looks similar to that of the vintage version. Then we have one of the coolest things about this pen, and that is the clip. Now check out this snake. It wraps around the cap, and then it's raised a bit, which I like. It kind of looks a little bit better than if the snake was just lying straight, and it gives some extra life to the clip. Then you have the head of the snake, which has two green rubies for eyes. On the coral version, the rubies are green, and then on the black version, the rubies are red. And I just think this looks pretty sweet. I kind of wish the scales of the snake were included on the portion of the clip that wraps around the pen. I have a feeling why it's not. My guess is that the scales would get kind of distorted as the metal was shaped around the cap, but I just thought that would have been nice. On the side of the cap is the historical Montblanc logo, which is engraved and filled with white. Now, I understand this is a callback to the vintage model, but I can't say that this logo and placement are my favorite. There's a slight step down to the barrel, which is perfectly straight. Then there is a thin silver ring, which transitions into the piston knob, which tapers to a flat end. This is a piston filler, and the piston mechanism is very smooth. The very first Montblanc, the original one, was actually a safety pen. It wasn't a piston filler. The cap unscrews to reveal one of my other favorite things about this pen, and that is the nib. Take a look at this nib. The snake theme is continued on this 14 karat two-tone nib, and you can see here that the nib is engraved with the head of a snake. I really like how the breather hole is a triangle, which fits in with the scales of the snake, and I like how the slit between the tines resembles the snake flickering its tongue. That's just really, really cool. And we'll see here in the writing sample that the nib performs very, very well. The section is a little on the thin side, and I typically don't care that much for metal sections, but I really don't find this one slippery at all. The threads are down here at the very end of the section, and while they're very thin and don't take up much space, they are fairly sharp. If you have a tendency to hold your pen down at the end of the section, like I do here, then it might be a little uncomfortable for you. I will say though that the pen has a very unique feeling when twisting open and closing the cap, that the metal threads are very smooth and it's very pleasant. There's just something very nice about the way that feels when you are capping and uncapping the pen. There is a fairly smooth transition from the metal section to the precious resin barrel, and the pen is long enough, at least for me, to use unposted. And that's good because the pen does not post. You can kind of set it here, but it really doesn't securely post whatsoever. This is a rather thin pen, but it really weighs more than you think it should weigh or think it would weigh. But it's a good weight. And what I mean by that is that there's some pens that have a tendency to be heavy but still feel cheap. Weight doesn't necessarily equate to quality, but for the Rouge et Noir, that's not the case. It's very well crafted and has a very high quality feel to the materials. And the pen has a decent balance too as well. The pen feels very evenly distributed, the weight, between the piston mechanism in the back and the section up front. And for a thin pen, it really has a feeling of substance in your hand, and I think the weight helps to that. This is a limited edition, but I really couldn't see any numbers anywhere. I don't believe it's numbered at all. The Rouge et Noir is priced at just under $800. And this pen is very polarizing for me. There are some features I really enjoy. I love the snake clip, and I really like the snake head on the nib as well. And I really like the weight and feel of the pen, but there are some other features I really don't care for that much, such as the sharp threads and the cap logo and the oversized snow cap. I'm just not a big fan of that as much compared to the modern logo, as well as how thin it is and the fact that it won't post. I typically like my pens a bit on the thicker side. If this was about maybe 50% thicker. Now I know that doesn't call back to their original version, but if it was something a little bit larger, then I think I would be a real big fan of this pen because, as we'll see in the writing sample, it does perform very well. So let's take a look at some measurements, then we'll do some size comparisons, and then I'll provide a writing sample. So here we go with some size comparisons for the Montblanc Rouge et Noir. That here it is with a Pelican M805, and then here it is with a Montblanc 149, and then finally here it is with a Sailor King of Pen. You can see that it's significantly smaller than each of these. And now for some somewhat similar things. We have a TWSBI Diamond 580 AL. Here it is with a Pilot Vanishing Point. And then here it is with a Pelican Stola 3. It's actually very similar in size to the Stola 3. So here we have the Montblanc Rouge et Noir. And this is a medium 14K nib. And the ink is Montblanc Mystery Black. This is what the bottle looks like. I know I've shown that before, but I really like these Montblanc bottles. I like the cap too. It's just very solid. This is what the ink looks like. And I can't say it's my favorite black. Here it is in comparison to the Sailor Gentle Black and the Sailor Kiwaguru, which are a bit more deeper and I'll say more pure blacks. And the Mystery Black seems like it has a bit more brown in it. And in regard to these cards, I use these Nemesine word cards for my ink samples. They really accept ink well, and they're really nice to kind of keep in this package. These had been sold out of virtually every place I've looked, but I did find them in one store, and that is penstore.nl. Now I will say that while the cards are inexpensive, they're like $3, $4, $5 each. The shipping to the United States was not. So if you would like these cards, by all means you can go to this store, but just understand you might want to purchase some other things to make the shipping a little bit more tolerable. So here we have the rest of the writing sample. Dog. This is a very smooth nib with just a little bit of feedback. I'm not going to push it too hard, but it performs very, very well. You can get a little bit of line variation out of there. And in regard to ink flow, there's really no problems with it. I wouldn't say it's a gusher. It's kind of on the medium side, but it flows very nicely. And in regard to reverse writing, it performs well. It lays down a nice fine line. It is slightly scratchy though. And in regard to some fast writing, that was at the angle I was holding the pen. That wasn't any flow issue. And there you go. And there's no issues at all. So I wanted to thank my friend Andreas for the loan of this pen. We have the Montblanc Rouge et Noir. You know, there's a lot to like about this pen. It has some very unique features and actually writes very, very well. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.